Danger Dolan. From authentic murder simulators to game cabinets featuring a butt you can actually slap, we count 15 of the craziest video games you'll ever come across. Number 10. Mr. Mosquito with a comment from Excelsior. So in this PC game, you fly around as a mosquito into a couple's house. The couple is Chinese. You have to suck blood from the husband. There's one particular part where you go into the bathroom where the wife is taking a bath. She is naked with nudity, and you have to suck blood from her tit. You have to do all this without getting caught. So the main premise of the game is you're supposed to go around sucking blood so the mosquito will survive the winter ahead, and it came out on the PS2 in 2001. It was originally only supposed to be released in Japan by Eidos Interactive, but they wanted a game that'd be quirky, odd, but with fun gameplay that most other studios would shy away from publishing in the Western Hemisphere. And if you, as a mosquito, suck too much blood too fast, one of the Yamada family will notice you and slap you to death, prompting a game over. Number 9. JFK Reloaded. Less of a game and more of a playable history simulator designed to recreate the events surrounding the assassination of former President John F. Kennedy. It puts you in the role of Lee Harvey Oswald atop the Texas Book Depository, and using official forensic reports from the Warren Commission, you'll attempt to rack up the highest score by aiming the mouse and firing 3 times, 2 misses and 1 blow to the head with a perfect score out of 1,000. There was a competition in which someone scored 784 authenticity points, the closest at the time, and the shooter was awarded $10,000 for their efforts. $10,000 for shooting the president in a death simulator. Suffice to say, JFK's actual brother was not so impressed by the winning amount, or the game's existence for that matter. Number 8. Enviro Bear 2000 with a comment from subreddit Reddit with the game's tagline, "Who is driving the car? A bear is driving the car. How can that be?" So quite simply, this game is a driving simulator featuring a poorly drawn bear. The object of the game is to drive around an open field, crashing into lakes and trees so that fish, berries, bees and rocks can fall into your car through the sunroof, so your bear can eat them in order to gain the necessary girth to endure hibernation. You hibernate by driving into a cave and clicking a button. It has been called the best bear-based driving sim of all time by website Rock Paper Shotgun, and driving controls as realistic as you might imagine if a bear were actually driving a car by toucharcade.com. Number 7. Parodius, part of a series of games that were never released in the States, a parody series lampooning Gradius and other games at Konami. You're given a side-scrolling shooter ship, or a stickman driving a paper plane, or a flying penguin and tasked with ridding the universe of random things like lips attached to robot arms, holding cream dispensers, or giant dancing women, or Japanese women that shoot dancing blue rabbits at you. At the end of one of their most recent games from 2010, you fight a giant robot penguin standing in front of a black hole at the far end of the galaxy, somehow standing on ice, and he can transform into a fighter jet, because that makes perfect sense. Number 6. Seaman, a virtual pet game for the late Sega Dreamcast, one of the few to use the microphone attachment, in which you must talk to a continually evolving creature with a human face, that of the game's producer Ute Saito. It will transform from a parasite to a fish and finally into a frog, where it's going to hop out of the water and outside your care. Speaking of which, if you don't check on your little creature regularly, it's gonna die. And aside from checking the tank temperature or picking up the creature, you pretty much entirely play the game by giving voice commands. And for some reason, the game is narrated by Leonard Nimoy. Mr. Spock narrates a game about a fish with a human face. What more could you ask for? Number 5. Harvester, a point-and-click adventure game with a tone similar to the movie Dr. Strangelove. It's set in the town of Harvest in 1953, about a guy called Steve suffering from amnesia. It's a super violent game made in a time when they were frowned upon. In one scene, you meet an old army guy missing the bottom half of his body, in charge of nuclear missiles aimed at the Russians, which he alone can activate with a button, and if you choose the wrong dialogue option, a video plays of him shooting you in the head and launching the nukes to destroy the world. You can also burn down a woman's diner and force her to commit suicide alongside her daughter. And if you can reach the end of the game, you're going to find a nice little piece of social commentary. Number 4. Bunga Bunga, a game developed for Japan in which the cabinet has a pair of legs and a butt sticking out that you're supposed to either spank or jab with fingers up the butthole. You can choose between slapping or poking the ex-girlfriend to the ex-boyfriend, the gangster, the mother-in-law, the gold digger, the child prostitute, the child molester or con artist, with their reaction displayed on screen. Once you do the deed, the machine will dispense a card that rates your sexual behavior and occasionally prizes in the form of a plastic trophy pile of feces. And for some crazy reason, the game did really well and even praised at the Tokyo Game Show in the year 2000. Number 3. Chex Quest, a 1996 non-violent mod for Doom created by Digital Cafe to promote the cereal Chex, and so the game was included in cereal boxes for free. The game itself isn't weird, but what makes this strange is that such a fandom developed and it was so successful considering it was just a palette swap advertising campaign for children. Even including the original Doom UI hardly changed at all, and yet this game won awards and was noted as the first ever video game included in cereal. Because of their limitations on the palette swap and their desire for Doom references, bloodied bodies and twitching torsos from Doom became goo-covered cereal pieces, and twitching corpse bodies were turned into people trying to extract themselves from piles of goo. Number 2. LSD Dream Emulator, with a comment from Storm Freeman. It's a game entirely based on making as little sense as possible. You go through waves of different rooms, some featuring demonic-like creatures which whisper to you, others having scary faces that jump out at you randomly. This game has almost no premise but to try and confuse the player. So this game was labeled as a surrealistic exploration game for the PlayStation 1, only released in Japan. It's a game they literally took from a staff member's dream journal and released as a full-fledged commercialized title, which may actually be the greatest thing I've ever heard. Each dream lasts about 10 minutes, and if you touch pretty much anything in the dream, you're going to be transported to another dream world with minor differences from anything you've seen before. Sometimes you might see a grey or shadow man who glides in one direction with no walking animation, his head always tilted in your direction no matter which angle you view him from. Number 1. Zoo Race, a Christian-based game about some people in a library transformed into animals and forced to race on racetracks built by Noah, who built the Ark, and his sons, who throw exploding barrels and try to burn you with flamethrowers or rocket launchers as you race through various places. And also there are dinosaurs. You can catapult your animal miles through the air to come crashing through glass walls, and then you can have a dance party afterwards. You don't play this game, you experience it in the fiery depths of your soul. That is it for this countdown. Have a good one!